Okay, what we have here, we have courtship. Now, first of all, a bit of history most of you are historical people here, some are a little bit newer. When you look at standard extension, from 452 generation onwards, you have the core tracker and you have the core viewer. Those two are nothing else than the two components of courtship. So courtship is born around 2012, I think. Caroline? Yeah. Because I just joined in 13 and courtship was a new app. And we were trying obviously to commercialize it along with Lockshift. But really what it is, we took two standard extensions, the core tracker and the core viewer, and we combined them into an application for Lockshift. So when you open it up and we look at it, these two, the tracker and the viewer, they are two separate standard extensions. So one thing that always pops in my mind is, should we get rid of those standard extensions? Maybe yes, maybe no. Don't know which way we want to go. What I can tell you is that when we look at installing courtship, what courtship does is it will create 4 tables in the MDS. So there is a script associated with the installer. You will point it to the MDS you want, and it builds 4 tables for you. So I can quickly show you what they are, just for everybody reference. And the overall idea is the key table when we use courtship is DH photo. That's where we register the data associated with the picture. But we also have a mapping. So where that mapping goes, it goes into sys mapping. It's around the merge table. So it's here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are the 4 tables created by courtship the moment it gets installed. You don't really have to worry, it's pretty solid when it comes to install. So it goes, install it there, and when you use courtship as an administrator...
Is it hardwired like the extension in terms of courtship doesn't work if you have M from and M2, it only works if you have depth from and depth 2?
Good question. Let's check. So if we come here, we have a tracker and a viewer. The tracker is where you actually register your photos. He's gonna...
Yeah, it is depth 1 and depth 2.
Yeah. So it looks like it's our code. Yeah. So as we were looking at this, what we have a tracker where we actually register the picture, and we have a viewer when we look at the picture. From the admin side, all there is a mapping config, plus the import-export, which Alex knows really well and can talk about it, because I think Lefroy has been quite demanding. Yeah. So when you first run in courtship, what you have to think about is where my pictures are kept. So the idea is I have a folder somewhere. In my C drive I have C courtship, where I keep all the pictures, and that is where the application is looking to fetch the images. So obviously if you say, okay, I got the images in that folder and then I delete the images, the link to the folder is there, but the image is not there and will never display.
Can you have more than one folder?
Nope. That's
very restrictive.
That's an interesting feature. Now, talking about the history of courtship, because this is internal training, the first version had SQL streaming. So the overall idea was, oh, great, let's take 1 gig of pictures from Lockshift And when we sync, we move the pictures to the server. This is how the system actually has been sold to certain clients, which are one in particular I will not mention. And obviously, there are strong limitations about what the network can and cannot do. So in the latest version, which is 1.3, right here, you only have Windows file system. If you get 1.1, it will have SQL streaming. So watch out for this difference. Other things, well, I show you in the image, the first very image I show, you had the core, and you saw some data. What is that, some data? Here we can look at the related data table, and we can decide what data is going to come up with the picture. So what you have the database mapping here with the preset map. So this one gets loaded in the system table along with the script that creates them. So when you install CoreShed, creates the for table for you, populates a defaulted map in terms of which tables you can pick to be seen with the image. But when I come here, I say, oh, I want to see alteration. Now that's where the system, I have a bit of a criticism on the system. It's not intuitive. How do I add a table now? Is there an add button or something? I have to actually right click to make the add come up. It's documented, it's on the manual, but from a user point of view, it's a bit, oh, I need to remember to right click to add. And I also need, when I need to save, it's always right click. If I'm here, I did some modification, how do I save? I need to right click and save anything. So back to my alteration, pops up the list, I pick my alteration, it's in there. But now, right click again, save. Yeah, so it does the job. You need to know how to do it, basically. The other thing, which is a little bit, I'm not saying funny or anything really negative, we can add views.
How do I add my assets, Marco? Hypothetically.
Yeah, that's a good question because it got me in Africa and I had to ask support how to do it, and Lenore, you find out for me. I was like, how do I do that? It's not hard once you know it. So what you do, you go to your database mapping and you have the choice between tables and views. You can actually see there is a parameter 2 here. And for DHSA, I set it to interval. So this one is when it gets interesting. You have to actually say, oh, I come here, it's an interval or a point. Then I refresh the mapping, and it doesn't really tell you if it did it or not. Now it's doing it because it's taking its time. Once it's done, you save, and then you go back to the list of tables. And then you should see your view.
At least you can do that in the thing.
Is that in the
Can't do it in the extension.
Yeah. It is in the manual, but again, from a user point of view, this part is not really user-friendly. I mean, there is room for improvement.
I agree, definitely, because you can see there all it's got is listed the elements. It doesn't have the data set whole ID depth from until that is hardwired, and that needs to be configurable.
And sometimes it's also crashing when you do this. That's the other thing. Still thinking too much now. So the overall idea, and I did this with Philip last week. So we catch up, and DHSA by default doesn't come as interval. So I made it an interval and send him a couple of screen prints. So you got to be patient sometimes with these applications.
Question on that screen, you've got parameter 1 and 2 on the left-hand side. There's parameter 1, 2, and 3 on the right against the other fields. Do you have to set them ever?
No.
To anything, or do you just usually leave them?
No, I usually leave them. The only thing I do is parameter 2 because I learn you need to set it to interval or point.
Do we know what those parameters 2 and 3 are?
I don't. I really don't.
It's like the ones in the process stuff.
Yeah.
The ones with the
That's
dash.
right. Yeah.
It's coming up, so we just put a dash.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it looks like it's not responding, which is fantastic. So I'm going to kill it.
Do you want to talk about accelerometer or photos?
I will get to.
Sure.
We'll get to it. So back here, the overall idea is that I should have the view. No, didn't came through. But no, this is WDHSA. I picked lithology. I did this one for Philip. So I mean, the process is there. It's not reliable. Bottom line. Right. Good.
It's probably not indexed.
Probably got to close it down, reopen it or something.
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, it's not the best process ever, I can tell you. All right, moving on because we only have 2 hours, and especially on pXRF, there is a lot to talk. Now, tracker. The tracker is really easy. I mean, it has a limitation on the number of pictures it can handle. We discovered it with Alex. I think it's 256. Yeah, because by the sound of it sounds like an 8-bit to me.
Is that a Windows file system?
I don't know. I'm not developer. You know, I just
Geologist.
no.
I just use
Even worse, I just use it. Right. So you pick your data set. You pick a color. Great. I don't have it, which means we need a color in lock shift. Makes sense. It's a common mistake. Not having a color in lock shift, so come here, put a color, we call it XYZ, put a max depth. This is something I keep saying we should have it mandatory by default in lock shift side, not talking MDS, because not populating this depth always creates a lot of dramas in lock shift. And I didn't default the data source, that's fine, done. So back here, it should now allowing me to add the picture. So we are here, lock shift, there it is, makes sense, which means I'm connected to the right database. Another things you're gonna watch with clients, sometimes they say they have a problem, well, they're not connecting to the right database to start with. So watch out for that. Okay, so what we have, phototype. Phototype is an interesting thing. It's just a library. It's TBL lib phototype. So if you need more values than the one you have here, it's just a library. You add the extra code. So a good one, when you look at our MDS, this is actually a 464. We don't have chip trays in the libraries. You can add it. But all I'm saying is this one is a point blank library. If you need more, you add more.
It's called Core Photo Tracker. That's why there's no chip tray.
Yeah, but who
I'm saying it should be just called Photo Tracker.
who is forbidding you to actually take a picture of a core trace, put it vertical, and chuck it in core sheet? You can do it. I can put a picture of myself underground if I want to.
I know, my point is,
Why not? Full dress.
Oh,
Come on. I'm not going into more details than that. Okay, so what we want to do here, we want to go. Why are you doing that to me? So add the image. We pick one. Can pick the box there, and okay, it's coming through. So I did something wrong here, which actually I put depth from 0 to 0. The idea is we should put a depth, maybe 2, and we save it. Now, when we save, what is actually happening? We have data here. we are saving. This one is DH photo. So this one, the data you are basically inserting here, which in reality most people don't, because
You didn't save your depth.
You need to override.
Try refresh
The bottom one overrides the top.
Yeah.
20 to 0 now.
Let's see. I love the resolution. Okay.
It's saved as 0, 0.
You have to change it there, yeah.
Okay. Probably have to do this.
So
Save.
Refresh.
No?
Yeah.
Because
try and do it up the top. Save. There. Now refresh.
You haven't taken your data set down either.
Beautiful. Hold on. Let's do the good old school then. Come here. Yeah. Delete. Redo it.
no, just update the depth here.
Done. Done. All right. 0 to 2. Add image. Pick that one. Coming.
Yeah.
There it is. Now, interesting bit. See this image? Has a whole ID and a depth from and depth to. Now, that is a good way to tell the client how to name the pictures. It would be interesting to have a tool that actually rename the pictures for the client.
There is one. There is a tool that I've seen that at the last mine site I worked at. You can get that.
Okay, so you've done something. Because I know Gavin was doing something about it.
There's software that.
Ah, you found the software. Oh, even better. Because it makes a lot of sense to keep this in a sensible way. And back in my days in BHP, we used to have a tool to actually precisely do that.
Just another point, guys.
Yep.
There's a bit clunky on this thing. If you've got a chip tray, say you've got one photo and your hole's 0 to 20 meters, and your chip tray is 0 to 20, your from depth has to be 0 to 19.99 because unfortunately there's a check constraint on this that it has to be less than and not equal to max depth. So you can't go 0 to 20.
And then 20, yep. Oh, that's good.
It has
Thanks.
to be 19.99. It can't hit max depth. It's a bit shit.
Yeah.
That's bad.
That's bad. Yes,
Mhm.
it is.
Could you make next step 20.01 and then still go?
But then you have to go to color. You have to
I know,
do,
I know.
Yeah. So you have to stay one down. It's
Yeah.
Is
better.
that in our NBS or just in the extension?
Yeah.
Because it should be in the NBS.
It's in. Hold on, I know this software. It's in the software that's having the issue. I don't know. But yeah.
Because based on what you are,
Look at the
So if
depth
you just
Yeah,
change that.
photo.
DH photo.
yeah, DH photo.
Look at
Yeah.
the valid.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Let's see.
It's not that one, it's the trigger.
That's the trigger.
Yeah, then it would be
This one is below or
You
equal.
need the valid interval, but trigger.
That one.
Yeah.
It's actually old.
So
Less than color max depth, not equal to. Less than or equal to.
It doesn't. Yeah. This is where we have to put the
so
equal.
it's trigger.
Yeah, it's the
Can
trigger.
you just open up that same trigger on a different table?
Sure thing. Let's take something like the H alteration, which we know will be the. It's the same.
So alright, go back
Is
to
it?
the software and back to the thing.
no, that's right. Because it said depth 2 is greater than you can allow. That means
Alright,
in
but if you-
reverse is allowed less than.
So nuke that picture.
And allow equal.
You okay?
Nuke it.
Okay.
Now do it against the 0 to 50.
50.
See how it doesn't let you add image? The add image button just fell off.
Yeah, because it's the same depth.
Okay, 49.9.
Yep.
Then software.
Yeah, has to be the software then. No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're right, it's the software. Great, we found another thing somebody needs to look at. Question is, who is in charge of looking after Porsche these days? Okay. So,
I'm not allowed to do any extension development apparently.
fair enough. Okay, so assuming you've been saving pictures, the other component is the viewer, which is fairly simple. Once it's set, all you want to do is look at the picture with the associated data you set from the related tables. Fairly easy. We go back here, viewer, and we open it up. So what we have, we should remember our hole. It's here. And we can zoom in, zoom out, and find the data. Obviously, I logged nothing against this hole. I created the color from scratch. But the data will come. Now, you got to think a couple of things here, because the way Maxwell presented this tool sometimes from a sales perspective, I wouldn't agree on it, because we tend to put the assay in the demo and say, fantastic, you look at your picture and you got the assay. Hold on a second. To have the assay, if you are in Lockshift, you will have to bring the assay down from the MDS. Otherwise, you won't be able to see them. You can configure it, but you need to see the data. Same as Striplog. Striplog is great. It shows you the stratigraphic column with the assay, but you need to have the assay. So, CoreShed is also available as extension for datashed. There it makes perfect sense to talk to client and say, if you have CoreShed in datashed, then what you can do, you can actually look at your picture and extension. But these open a different discussion where, Alex, certainly you can contribute, is how do we manage the pictures? Because
At least in the extension, you can put your different drilling campaigns in different directories. That's a good thing.
but the point I'm trying to make is
So with the pictures when it's in Logsheet, that's just purely saved to the local Logsheet.
aha, that's the key.
You know, I mean, what if that computer dies? It's not on a central server.
That's the key.
It's not good.
Well, what we have really is a problem of registration. What you have, DH photo, you can make it sync. And I think we did. Correct, Alex? Yeah. Because DH photo is just a SQL table with data. But then you have to move the pictures.
To the same location.
And the best way to do it, please correct me because I don't remember exactly what you ended up doing with the client. What you can do is, granted that you establish the exact same location on the server, you can literally copy paste the same pictures out of Lockshift, put them on a stick, load them on the server, DH photo gets synchronized, job done. Is there anything?
So
Synchronize doesn't synchronize the actual images.
So what the Freud were doing, they were doing their photo management here on my C drive, which was pointing to the Maxwell server, Maxwell C file path. They then replicated that exact same file structure on their server. We've got a little access denoting tool that will find a file and it will find all the files within all the files within that folder. So it's getting all the file paths exactly from their S drive folder. They gave me all that information in Excel. I updated DH photo in the database with their new server location, sunk DH photo via Logchief. So now on Logchief it's pointing to their server, so the photos are there stripped and they can see the photos from their server. It's fun. It's really fun.
Well, the key thing here is moving pictures through networks. It's nasty business. I mean, I've seen it done. Again, BHP, we used to do it about 1 gig an hour, but that is BHP network, so they spend millions on it. The small client in the world will not have that infrastructure, not in a million years. That's my 2 cents on it. So if we can make it better, I mean, again, there is a stop on development, but it's at least now everybody's kind of aware where we are, what we do, how we do it. We don't have many clients using this system as well. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, so really that's what there is on CoreShed. I mean, there is not really much else, unless...
Have you got an example of another one in here already that you made earlier with actual data we can show?
With data map?
Yeah.
No, I haven't got any footer data. Now, we also have, well, quick discussion, tech coring. Anybody Heard about tech coding? Do you know what it is? No? Yeah, come on, you know. Okay, tech coding. It's a German software which actually, okay, hold on, I put an example on my C drive. So what it does for you, produces this.
We're looking at it for long here.
And by, I mean this is actually taking, it's a sort of scanning system. So you have an image of your core box. It looks at the single channel. So typically PQ boxes is 3 channels, 1 meter each on the box. So it takes the 3 meters of code, combine them into a single string. Beautiful little tool made in Germany. Costs about $7,000. So we've been trying to have a bit of a partnership with them. I think we sold like 2 or 3 in the last 6 years, so didn't really go as well as thought, but the software itself is pretty nice. And because it produces these images are perfect for core shape. Because core shape has the depth bar on the left, and it's a vertical bar. This one is a vertical string. So from our point of view, the images produced by tech coding, they're phenomenal. But again, selling it to clients and all that hasn't been a real successful business. But it's there, we have it. I mean, I think you are kind of yourself, me, and Cardinal, they are the only people that, and yeah, Gab knows about it a little bit. I mean, it's there, the possibility it exists. Okay, if there is nothing else, I can move into pXRF. Now, with pXRF, I have a little challenge.
pXRF is the challenge.
No, just a little one. Because in my stupid mind, what we have is,
Where does your stupid mind separate from your not stupid mind?
we have a pXRF module in the MDS. We can debate all day, the module is not good, we call the table pXRF. I mean, in my mind, we have to redo it entirely, but that's a different story.
I'm with you.
And I know, Lenore, you're with me 100%, but we need to have the okay from the higher gods to do it. What I don't get here is why people struggle so much with pXRF.
It's clunky.
I'm not talking about the application, I'm talking about the workflow. Can you load assays? Are you familiar with the assay system? Yes? No? So what do? When we load an assay file, which tables are involved?
Sample table and assay.
No, you cannot answer. You're too experienced to answer.
No, but it's the ongoing problem with the XRF, Marco. We shouldn't have to use the XRF sample table.
Oh, that's to me, it's an MDS structural issue. Where I'm getting at is understanding what it does right now.
Yeah.
If we talk assay and we import an assay file, how the process flows? It's assay, we should all know.
So it goes to an incoming data table.
Fantastic. What's happened next?
It will then try and merge it and put it into an assay. TDL assay.
Go back a step, back a
You
step.
gotta have the sample thing. Obviously.
Okay. You are in your incoming and you do what I call during the training, the marriage. Because you go to the sample register and the assay libraries. So first check the libraries and then the process check the sample register. That's how it flows.
Well, even before that, your import layout, make that sure that's working. You do it once for assays.
Yeah.
Every single pXRF file, the import layout varies.
We'll get to that. I'm talking pure workflow. I'm not talking application. I'm not talking MDS structure. I'm talking about what we have. If you are in assay, you start merging. Goes to CSS batch detail, TBL assay. That's it.
That's that flat.
Yeah.
Right.
When you rank.
Sure.
That's the ranking.
Yep.
What do we do with pXRF different?
No ranking.
No ranking.
No ranking. And it goes
That's result.
XRF incoming. So you take CSAS incoming and you put pXRF instead of assay. It's the same thing. And then it does the marriage on the XRF sampling table, which we are saying they are not the greatest idea ever, but is what it does. It goes to CSAS batch. It goes to CSAS batch detail. It's the same damn thing. What happened next? The application actually takes the CSV file from the GUM. And yes, we have issues with 6 million different formats, which we cannot control because they come from the GUM. And what it does, splits it into metadata and what will be the assay brackets, assay data. So it goes to XRF results header and then the results, XRF results. And we have a relationship between the header and the results. You cannot load the results without the header populated. So that's it. If we understand how the assay process flow, the flow into the pXRF tables is the same. And we actually don't rank, which is kind of an advantage because we have the view. And I mean, moving forward, ranking on views can be possible, but that's a different, again, it's a different story. What I want to get out here is get everybody to understand nicely. The workflow is not different from the assay one. You take the assay one, you put XRF on the table, and you add the XRF results header. So assay, again, we go CSAS incoming, CSAS batch detail, TBL assay. With pXRF, XRF incoming data, CSAS batch detail, XRF results header, XRF result. And by knowing that, we should be able to troubleshoot anything. Now, with what you said before, here comes the ugly part of the system, the samples.
The sync sample data set.
Because the system relies on the sample register, which doesn't allow you to have the sample register, it doesn't allow to have the sample ID in multiple tables, granted that you are in the same data set, obviously. So what's happening if I have sample 1 in DHSAMP, and then I use the word zap it? Well, when I zap it, I cannot load sample 1 in XRF DHSAMP because the sample register will come around and say, no, I already exist for a source table DH. Ouch. A lot of clients do that. There is a variance which has been built for CNIs, which allows that.
And Vimy.
And Vimy use it as well. Okay, so there is a way around it, but we haven't really officially modified the MDS or decide do we have.
We have to improve it from what it is because it's a series of really complex views to work out what is the XRF sample table.
Well, probably the current structure of the XRF to be like who require the XRF assembly is back then we said we need to completely separate out the pXRF and the normal data. And we discussed back then, say, in a situation if they have just said on the same downhole sample, the decision is they have to rename it.
And we made that decision because of datashed 4.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way assay merging works.
It's not said, not considered or not think. That's the rule said we need to completely separate the pXRF from other data. That's the only way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got XRF DH SAM, XRF SAM.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Can we have an XRF DHPT SAM?
Nope. Well,
That's what it should be.
That's what I'm saying. No,
That's
that's
the
not
XRF.
third table.
No, XRF SAMP is it?
No, isn't that site?
hold on,
Actual site ID?
hold on.
It's already.
I'm talking about, so site ID, XRF SAMP can have site ID and SAMP. I'm talking about just a DH XRF SAMP is from to depth whole ID. I'm talking about XRF downhole PT, so it's just a depth whole ID data set. So not depth from and to, depth only.
DHPT.
XRF, DH, SAMP, PT.
DT.
Same as Maxus, DH, Maxus, PT, DH,
Oh, so not a problem.
SAMP.
Yeah,
Okay.
and go back a step.
DHPT.
And go back a step there, because what you have is the pXRF module is born into an MDS 452 environment. So what we did is XRF DH SAMP and then XRF SAMP,
You
which
can use the DH SAMP with just a point anyway.
Yes, but you can only have one or the other. So you
Yes,
can
okay.
have,
Yeah.
you can't have a mix.
as soon as you get an interval,
yeah. And what you have XRF SAMP, which is the equivalent of the old SS SAMP. What we kind of should do is have the PT SAMP, FS SAMP, LS SAMP for XRF to keep the same stream of logic in the two modules, which at the moment we don't.
yes.
We recently had the PT side on the XRF SAMP, which I believe is 463, and has been carried over 464. So that's what the module is, and that's the restriction we have right now on the sampling. So that's to clarify where we stand. And also helps you understanding which kind of errors we're gonna get. Most of the time is around the fact you are using the same sample ID. And when it comes to the workflow, as happened to me to have clients that are trying to use pXRF, they manipulate the log shift config, and somehow they drop the triggers that communicate from the XRF tables to the sample register. So they were actually introducing new samples, no problem. Those samples were not going to the sample register. Therefore, he was trying to merge them, and you get a no sample match. Another interesting one, before we look at the app, that's something I noticed just recently. Inactive datasets. In datashed, we can say, set the dataset inactive. Made perfect sense. We don't want to re-rank historical data which has been there since the dawn of man. Fantastic. Not an issue with that. But logshift still carries that dataset in the filtering. So if you have a dataset called historical, it's inactive in datashed, it gets carried in the filtering in logshift. So potentially, you can pick historical, and you can try to load pXRF. It won't merge. It's even better.
Because that the inactive is probably only used by datasheet for display filter purpose. It's not used anywhere else.
So what it does, it actually, you will put the sample in, beautiful, works. You have your data, it's formatted correctly. You try to load your pXRF and it goes no sample match, but the sample is there. Then what you do, you go back to datashed, enable the dataset, refresh the libraries, you try again, it will merge. So it's deceiving. I wouldn't worry too much because it's gonna be a rare occurrence, because what you have is, you have to make it inactive in datashed, and then you have to go to logshift and actually use what you flagged previously as an inactive data set. So I wouldn't be worried about it, but it's good to know that it's there. Because otherwise you get, oh, why doesn't load? So I flag it to support, so they know about it. Sorry.
No, I just wanted your thoughts on the workflow where a sample ID exists for a downhole sample.
We just discussed it.
Oh, okay. And so instead of re-entering, and you're going to pXRF all those same intervals with the same sample ID, And to alleviate the need to be loading that into your downhole XRF table, in addition to your downhole sample table, how do you address that issue?
Well,
Well, to me, I mean, and as you said, to me, and what I've done in the past is import from the sample register all the sample IDs into the log chief configuration. So when, if you were using the pXRF plugin to load your Niton or Innovex files, whatever the case may be, it is going to recognise here we have a sample ID, it's going to find a match and then allow you to load that and synchronise that pXRF record back to XRF results.
But it doesn't matter that in the sample register, sample ABC is in TB or DH.
Yep.
It doesn't matter that it goes right. Sample register, that sample's in DH table, not XRF. It doesn't care.
It doesn't look for that, does it? It just looks for
The sample
the
ID.
sample ID.
It doesn't look for the source table.
Okay, so then the results are conjoined. Because I thought you were doing a view of some sort of, you know, in assay flat, it's a combination of
Yep.
DH samp and assay, combining that to a flattened line.
Yeah.
Does it not do the same joint with the XRF DH?
We don't rank.
Well, no, but in the view.
no, but the view is there.
Then
So then you can do exactly the same view from
Except you change it to
DH SAM and you change it to XRF results. So you
Yeah.
thin that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that, but we've got a default NDS, so
Yeah.
So it's not existing in the MDS, that view,
That's a workaround, though. It's not
But
it's a
it
band-aid. Yeah.
but it's a possibility. But do you think it's an incorrect workflow, Lenore?
well, we've just discussed it and it happened more. The majority of our clients use the same sample IDs.
The same sample ID. I mean, it seems ridiculous to be recreating the whole
The problem
sample
is-
ID in the XRF tables.
The big issue is assay merging. If you're loading from a CSV file, like the Saba do. So they export out of their gun to a lab that then sends a CSV file like a normal assay file.
Yeah.
You have to have the left and right thing.
So then you have a
And you can't have
different.
DH sample looking at TBL assay and TBL XRF results.
And that's the same as Gold Road as well. They get theirs not pXRF done at
At the lab, so it's from a CSV file and now, unless you load into the DH sump, XRF DH sump and XRF sump tables, you'll never be able to merge those assays. Because you can only have one left-hand, right-hand combination.
You can't make a custom combination of DH samp and XRF. As part
The
of that.
primary key on the config table is only on your left-hand table, so you can only have your left-hand table once.
And have we, sorry for being
No.
late, but when I don't have an entry in my calendar for some
I know,
reason, we
I've already
don't seem to be able to get that. The configuration for QA/QCR to be able to look at the correlation between the wet chem and
We haven't got there yet.
haven't got there yet. Okay, sorry.
Right. So, the app, which apparently has been clunky, what you said?
Yeah.
Clunky?
Can you just go to the error log button for me?
The error log of.
I've got issues with my import layouts and I want to, there's an error. Can you just go to the log file and show me how to get to the button that goes to the log chief log file? Because that's where it is, right?
Oh,
Yeah, that's all right for you. Yeah, but I'm doing it through datasheet.
good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
There is no error button, log file.
Good luck.
Log chief. That's
So
fine.
you need to know the file name.
Or where the file, or where that lives, that
Yeah,
log chief
yeah.
file part.
We need an error log in datasheet though. Datasheet 5. Right.
It's called the import buffer.
It's not always the input buffer that's causing issues, though. Sometimes I don't have to.
Right, but that's data sheets.
So back in here. Now this one, we had a version 1, which went through I think 3 iterations, and then me and Naresh we did this on weekend on our own time. So if you have criticism, yeah, go for it, go for your life. Just be mindful, you got freeware here. Just saying. So overall idea, well. That's a carton of beer for me. We have the lab code, lab method. Where do we get them? CSAS library. So this one looks at CSAS lab, and this one looks at the method. Now, one thing we have here is now, in my mind, is a gray area of where do we go with the lab code? I mean, Viv literally loses his mind if he sees XRF, and I won't use different words because we are recording.
Well, lab code shouldn't be pXRF because there's no lab called pXRF. The lab should be ALS. That's the lab.
Yeah.
It's not the lab method.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm just listening. So we add pXRF configuration going out with lab method, with lab code, XRF, lab method, XRF. So I want to pick people's brains about what they think. In my own mind, the lab code should be the name of the device.
Night
Or the lab.
Well, it's not often a lab. It's
No.
usually night on or internet.
But if, now here is the thing, because Leonore has a point. These days, they start to have the pXRF device at the lab that does the job at the lab and spits a CSV file. So now you got two scenarios. You got the device on the field shooting data, and they may have 2 or 3 in the same company. But then you have the lab, the ALS in the world, with device 1, 2, 3 in their own shed. They mount them vertically and they shoot all day.
But that'll get then loaded as a normal assay file if it's coming from the laboratory.
Yeah, but not into TBL assay.
This is not certified. It's not.
Aha.
It's
No, it'll still go to TBL-XRF result.
Yeah. But the overall discussion here,
Is the lab.
to me, is the lab code. So calling it XRF, no way. My current kind of default way is I use the device name. But if it's used within the lab, maybe we should put ALS underscore device 1. Have something to identify.
Differentiate.
Yeah. And the lab method, it's XRF.
P.
What's the difference between portable and proper lab XRF? It's the same method.
Isn't there a certified XRF method at the lab?
The XRF method is certified under NATA
Yes,
improved
totally different.
standards.
This is
and
indicative.
XRF from the tool is not at all.
Okay. So we should put pXRF. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, so what we have, I put XRF, so that one agreed, should be pXRF. We have a date format, units, pretty straightforward. The template. Now that's where the struggle comes. Because when we look at it, what we have, oh, he's getting ready. He's getting ready. So what we have, you have a device here which produces a CSV file. Yeah, I'm gonna load it in a second. The challenge is, can we control the format out of the device? There you go. That's the answer about having problems with basically people changing formats all over the place.
My other issue with that is that people come to that screen, all the default, the required fields are done, and no one ever bothers to update all the others, and all that information's in the gun and never gets recorded because people can't be bothered.
Yeah.
So all the alloy, average, correlations, durations, those fields
You
exist.
should have them all if they
Yeah.
exist in the file.
He's going to show the group up.
They match if it's in there, don't they?
But
Like
the
the
matches-
name's exactly the same, but probably fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
name's
like
slightly
that
different.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, you will have to actually come here and pick all of them. So the system, similar to what datasheet does, it does its best in terms of, oh, I matched the other, let's map it. And what we have,
Match alloy 2 then. Alloy 1, alloy 2.
this one, do we have it?
I've just never seen that in there.
I never really map it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's my point, though.
That's
No one
what it
bothers.
is. Oh.
I mean, I don't know what the fields that are.
I know, but if we just had an idea of what to map them to, maybe people might map them, but I don't know what
Correlations
to.
there, I know correlations there, so.
Yeah.
But if your source file doesn't have it, you can't map it.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, but some of,
it's slightly different.
But some of them,
But that would be user.
Yeah, and that's what.
Yeah, training problem. It's not the application. It can't really handle if it have a different name.
No, and my point is the fact that people don't even come and update this.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
but that's a user.
It's
yeah,
true.
training problem.
Because what you
I don't
have,
even know what half the field on the left means, so I wouldn't have a clue what to
Oh.
go into.
me too.
No, that's right, it's an education process.
Now, what I'm trying to do is,
Fit everything on a screen.
yeah, which it's, yeah, because down here you have the group by for these fields. Because what we try to do here with Naresh is group the mapping in 3 categories. So you got the red one, you can't load without it, period. You don't even discuss it. And the most interesting one is this one. You know why? And I had this happening. That's the first pXRF element. Look at this file. It's here. But it's actually,
It's the first populated pXRF, isn't it?
what is it? I'm telling you what's happening to me with clients. They go, okay, the first one ever is P. There is no magnesium, there is nothing. P is the first one. They do the template, they put phosphorus. Then they decided at the device level, I do a couple of extra elements. And the template slightly changed. What happens? They had a couple of elements, which unfortunately what happened is, depends on the order, you may be in this order and you actually may have numbers. The problem you have is that this is a valid template. It's still looking for P as the first element. It's doing it right for what has been set up, but it's gonna miss these columns.
So that's a programmatical change that it needs to pick up the very first element in the file, regardless if it's populated.
How does it know? How does it know?
What column to pick up?
Well,
So you've got 100 XRF files,
why-
and then sometimes the first column's column 10,
5.
sometimes
Whoa.
the first column's 25. You have to manually.
To change the discussion, it's like the lab changing the CSV output of your lab. How the import will know? I don't.
Well, the good thing about the input lab, it tells you that you've got an error.
Well, we need to change that first pXRF field, element field.
I mean, I
regardless
see.
if it's populated.
So just quickly, so if we put MG in there, would it not import it because
Because it looks
it's blank?
it-
Right.
No, because
No, no.
it jump is
because
P.
it starts for it's stored to.
I'm setting this up, right? If I put MG in there, will it work?
Yes.
So why don't
Yes.
you just put
It's
why don't
allowed
you put
null.
MG? That's a user error again.
No, but what we're saying is that first element changes all the time, and we're
It
specifying it.
can.
So it may not be in the second
CSV
CSV file, may not be
yeah.
in
Yeah. So you got clients coming back to you saying, I did shoot for magnesium, but magnesium is not there. I had it happening.
And the alternative is 5 batches later, I've still got MG, but MG is halfway through the order. It'll ignore the first, all the ones up to MG, all valid ones, and it's started
But we're
MG.
saying,
So
Every batch needs to look at individual.
if you take vanadium, you take vanadium, potassium, calcium, everything will be ignored.
No, I understand that. I was just wondering why in this situation they've chosen P rather than MG.
Because initially it started with P. And then they added, changed the
Yeah.
structure. It's not-
And I had this happening with a client that, you know, the impact guys was,
Yeah, Jason Ashby.
yeah. And they were really angry, and well, you have 5 extra elements in front of your first element. You change the template.
That's right.
Change the template, I deleted all the batches, reload them, sweet ass. But I'm trying to tell you guys things you need to watch. I'm not interested in telling you it's a fantastic word. So, these fields here, the gray one, they are all not mandatory fields. This is where, as Lenore is saying, also on our side, we don't know exactly all these fields, what they mean, what they do. I mean, I don't know what spot size is for example. What the application does, it tries to do its best in terms of mapping by the header, which is cool. And another thing, this was thanks to Caroline, the calibration fields. So this one is on the back of feedback from Goldfields. They came back to us saying each file that the device produces, because typically what they do, they shoot all day, but the first shot is a calibration shot. So they have a certified material to basically calibrate against, and it's in the file. But we never had, before we did this modification, we didn't have the ability to store the calibration. So we didn't even have the table for it. So we were questioned by Goldfields. You have a calibration record, what do you do with it? And the answer was nothing. So what we did, and it's part now of the standard MDS, there is an XRF calibration table, and it gets picked up here. So all these dark gray, these are the fields for the calibration table. So really, it's kind of automated. So as long as nothing really changed on the formatting of the pXRF device, this one gets picked up and you don't worry about it. So what I normally do when I set a template, I quickly check that those are picked up, and I'm good. Calibration is stored. You got any experience?
With calibration?
Yeah.
No, just it's good to piece it up.
Okay. Right, let's have a look.
Can I talk about other things before we move on to the data?
No, no.
So you can see every element's got a plus minus field. Sometimes you'll get batches where it'll be K and then K error, CA, CA error. You have to change the error to plus minus. It doesn't like that. It's very specific to that plus minus.
Oh, you mean the header?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
If it doesn't like CA error, it has to be plus minus.
That is, yes.
So you change it in
Yeah.
your file.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
I've never done that before
Yeah.
either. Error is very common to have there.
No, it doesn't.
Underscore error.
It doesn't store the error data. It's the standard
Okay,
deviation
so
data.
that's a good point. What field in the XRF results table is that error stored?
No, this one goes in, this one doesn't go in.
Yeah, I just
Yeah, what's the name of the field that it stores in?
It's
In the
the
database.
STD, in the
just bring up and
results.
say the normalized results table.
Just before you do that, there's one other thing that whoever developed this initially, I'm not having a go at you. He was the original guy. He hard-coded the mode.
Yes, that's exactly
So
right.
you cannot alias the mode column to something else. If the mode column is something else, you have to alter it to mode. Otherwise, again, it falls over. It's been hard-coded in as mode.
Yeah, well, actually, to give you the full story, the original module 1 was fully hard-coded. When I got told to get this to work for Goldfields with Naresh, we went through basically rewriting the entire thing as quick as we could. But that's when I discovered it was completely hard-coded. And there is no way, really, I mean, unless you stop, rewrite it from scratch, we had to keep what was done before.
So if you don't change the error to plus minus, does the data just not get loaded?
Well, that was what we had with Heron. Remember how we had to fix for Aranza recently? When Jacinta did the migration, the error data was going into the element columns. Standard deviation data was in the wrong column. Something happened there, it had a conniption and was going into the wrong place.
So she used the XR plugin to do
Yes.
Right,
Running
okay.
by that. So there was something wacky going on there with the data going into the wrong columns.
Right.
So I was probably reading it as element data rather than error data.
Yes.
Interesting. Didn't know that. But I know, as a matter of fact, that the entire software behind it's fully hard-coded.
We just need to do a debug to see.
Collimated field at one stage early back, Marco.
The
You go right to the end of that file. Remember, we had to add that collimated.
This one?
Yeah. Remember something about
Yeah. I think it's due to the fact
that? We
that
couldn't get it to load. And we
yeah,
had to
because it
add
was
that.
missing the column.
Yeah.
Again, this thing is hard-coded, so it looks for columns in the pXRF file you are loading. So my understanding, but again, we should get Naresh, because he's the guy that has been looking at it. And the previous guy is gone, was Pemberton, Michael Pemberton. What I believe is happening is looking for a column, collimated. If you don't have it, it falls off, like saying, where is my collimated column? So that's the reason why I like to have example that loads, which basically I kind of sell them as, this is the Maxwell format. Make sure you got all this column. Because as happened, it's not only the collimated. I remember a couple of other cases where one column was gone, and I believe it's because the device allow you to change the output of the file. And what happened, you get a file that looks perfectly legit, the data is good, you try to load it, and this thing doesn't tell you clearly error messages like collimated is missing. Back then, what we did, I took the data, copied it in a file I loaded previously, and it went through, and then I checked the headers, and collimated was missing. That's how we solved it.
But collimated is not mandatory field.
It is in the plugin because it's hardwired somewhere.
The software looks for it, but you are right. From an NDS data point of view, don't really need it.
And Michael, can you just go to SQL and have a look at the XRF results table?
Which is empty at the moment.
Oh, you've got no data.
Yeah, I have to load it now.
Okay.
Because what I want to do, I want to show you a little bit of data loading, how and what it does.
And just one extra point on the table structure of those columns.
Which ones?
No, on the left-hand side, all the units user define all the columns. The destination, the table structure.
This one?
Yeah. Those columns, I think from memory, is what they did is that we use one or two type of guns and then combine, because we don't know what the fields from the guns. And we just pick the common ones and add additionals from two both guns and add them up. And then if there is a third gun or whatever additional fields from other devices, they just add in. That's why probably many of these doesn't make sense if they're not using that specific type of gun.
So an icon's different to
catering
for all.
Yeah, so it's kind of back to them from memories. Yes, we look at the two guns, that's the common field from the two guns, we put it in.
Yeah, but the problem you will have, we look at it how many years ago?
But if user have a new gun, or if the gun developed has a new field, they just add in.
Yeah,
No, but the point is that they might add new fields and then deleted a whole lot that are now redundant.
Yeah,
So.
but
if they have data, they can't delete. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a fair point, but again,
but even say for some of the fields, we don't know what it is. It's just output from the gun.
It is. But because it's our code that you got to watch, because this thing was done in 13. We don't know exactly now what the output of the gun is. At least I don't know. I don't know if you guys have more input on what Innovex and Niton are doing gun-wise.
So that destination column is not reading the file you're trying to load?
No, that destination is what's in the MDX table.
These ones are...
the left-hand one, the source file.
Source is on here.
Okay.
Source is on here. Destination is on the MDS.
That's what it's going into.
So that's asked about to the Lasker file importer and most other things.
Yes, it is.
Where the left-hand side is
Source.
source.
Right, destination.
The right-hand side is where you're putting it.
Well,
Except it's the same header. It's not the same header. It's the right around.
Is it possible, sorry, just one thing.
yeah, go for it.
In the future or at some other point, would it be possible to make unit or Unicode mandatory? So if you get out of that screen hypothetically for a second.
Okay, quick kill it.
Because it's quite easy. The main thing is a percent of ppm, right?
Mm-hmm.
By clicking one of those buttons, it's very easy to have a file and to get it out by an order of magnitude by 10,000.
Yeah.
Because you picked the wrong unit there.
Mm-hmm.
If in the file you make the unit field mandatory, it picks it up from there.
Yeah, but then
whether they're ppm or percent.
But then you will have to change the database.
That's what I'm saying. Like just like a normal assay file, unit is mandatory, and it goes from unit to go into assay and assay flat. That same logic should be applied here, because often guys, without just picking the wrong one there, will have all their XRF out by 10,000.
Yeah, they will.
and that's bad.
You don't need to change MDS. MDS has a unit command. All you need to change is your source file.
But is it
Specified in the source file. That's what Alex
in
tried to
the
say.
CSV from the output gun? Is there a file that says, a column that says
Sure
unit?
does.
They just click from the file rather than.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there is.
So
Yeah.
I have a look at that,
Vimy.
try to match it up.
That's not always going to work though, because in Vimy the Unicode's null in the CSV file.
So how do they
How
know
do you know
what
what the
unit?
unit is?
The lab told them, or the guy at the gun. They know that it's supposed to be ppm.
Then put it in the file sheet. The record.
Well, whatever I'm saying is that
You're
file,
saying they're not
that
putting
the,
it in
the
file.
output from the Niton or the Innovex gun, that field allows nulls and is often null.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's low.
So that, you would have that there then.
I mean,
But yes, I get your point.
there you
I
go.
agree.
That's an Innovex file.
There you go, unit.
And unit changes.
And that's why it's great because
Yeah.
the header you only are set to one, whereas his has multiple rows and multiple units.
It's
And you want to do
okay for a file with multiple
Yeah, I
units.
think- Again, yes,
Yeah.
whoever's using this should then go back to the gun setup and populate that field. And it should be part of the training. You can't have that as now.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, there
I
is.
doubt if there'll be any more development on the
Yeah, but-
plugin.
Yeah, we know that.
So I think we'd find another workaround.
Well, as I said,
Excel.
development on plugin version 2
I think, yeah, well,
is
because
free.
you have to pick it there, and
Yeah.
even if you pick it in the mapping, unit to unit, which one takes priority?
The front screen.
Yeah.
Although we can't change that, so there's no work.
But again, if you've got multiple units, then you're going to have half your batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but we can't change it because we're not allowed to develop.
Well, that one is pretty easy to eliminate if you want to. You just have to
Weekends
speak.
calling, Marco.
No, don't look at me.
Why don't we have a different importer anyway with Datashed 5?
Oh.
Okay for that, because you haven't got, if you're not using Logchief, this also is the extension. The extension no longer exists, so
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does exist.
there's no, there's no extensions in Datashed 5 though, is there?
I haven't seen yet
Well,
Datashed
none of
5.
the existing extensions will work in the Datashed 5.
Show me Datashed 5 and we can have this conversation.
What we've got.
Yeah.
Right.
Alright, so what I want to do, I want to take my file, XYZ1, comes up here. For your information, you can load multiple batches in one go. I do not really advise that. I mean, the functionality is there, and the reason is simple. You can't trust the fact that all the formatting of the file is exactly the same.
They're all the same unit.
And that's the other thing. Now, but what I'm saying is, if we live in a world where you have 10 files, you have a quick look at it, they are all in the same unit, they are exactly in the same format, potentially you can load 10 batches in one go. There is no problem with that. That was actually one of the major enhancements in this version of the plugin.
There's a little thing you can run, that just checks the little scripty thing that you run that goes and checks all the headers and reports if they're different.
Macro in Excel we've got set up.
Yes.
Well, if we build something like that, fantastic. Right, batch number. You're welcome to put your batch number or have your own nomenclature, but the system does its own. So we can try to load the file. Oh, what's happening? It's in use by another process.
You open it.
Yes, so you never keep the file open in the background. It doesn't like it, even when you do the
How does
template.
that work in it as the extension? Because Datashed opens it automatically. Yeah.
Oh, don't tell me, you speak with the developer about it. Okay, here it is. Now, what it's doing? This is basically the equivalent of your view buffer in Datashed. Same exact concept. It loads the data into a temporary buffer table, shows you what you have.
Samples aren't in the database.
Hold on. That's exactly what it is, but you spoiled the surprise. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to import the data, and as our friend here is saying, I didn't load any sample. So what's gonna happen in the incoming table? No match samples. Yeah, that's the idea. Because, oh, no sample match. Again, it's the same exact workflow of assay loading. It's doing the right thing. So what we need to do, we need to make sure my sample X1 and X2, I made it super simple, 2 samples, they need to be somewhere.
You know when you're running assays and you've got the batch select, it's the dataset select in the assay table.
Mm-hmm.
Does that apply for this too? So you got the same sample ID across two datasets?
It matches dataset and sample ID.
From where?
Where does it get data set from?
The
It's not
unique
popular.
sample ID dataset combo. How does it know which dataset those samples are coming from? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, it's no different than data sheet, it comes up with more than one sample match.
Yeah, so in the assay management process flow, under the golden spanner, you've got that active datasets thing.
Yes.
Does that apply to this? Is what I'm saying.
No.
No, that's not like
No. So you need to have your active data set and make sure you don't filter on the inactive one. That's what you have to do.
Filter the data sets
In
rather than
log
relying
Yes.
on
The
your.
filters in log sheet.
Yes.
That's where
Yes.
it's coming from.
But
Yes.
both datasets are active in datasheet.
Now you are in trouble.
Yes.
Yes. So you tick one in log sheet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you will load against that one.
Okay.
The reverse of that is how many clients will load the same sample ID in different datasets. Well, the system, the MDS allows it. The problem is, in reality, you shouldn't kind of do it.
Why can't same sample be used across multiple datasets?
Yeah,
Why can't? I see a lot.
well, that's where I'm getting at. It's practice-wise can generate confusion. The system allows it, but on practice, really, if it would be my exploration company with 2-3 projects, I wouldn't use the same sample ID on different projects. Never. That's my 2 cents on it. Right. So let's quickly go to log shift. XRF DHSAM, the easiest thing in the world. I just put chips, and yeah, just put whatever in here, and the X2. And I'm gonna put a third one because I have a second file. So 3, we put the chips, and that one. So business as usual, we write the samples, go to sample register. So now if I redo the process, my first batch should go in.
Do you have datasheet open, just out of curiosity for this? When I look at the 6S batch stuff.
We can
About the
do,
issue with the trigger on 6S batch. Just as a fact-finding thing. Sorry, I'm not being negative now.
no, full,
Can we
okay.
just look at it in SQL?
We can do, sure.
Hold
You
on,
look at the trigger, John, this is that thing with the time.
hold on.
How with Dore, they've got a remote server and they're loading pXRF stuff. It's automating the receive date or that final date. It's having an issue not with the date, it's the date, time, hour. So we've had to step the clock back 5 minutes. Remember?
The timestamp.
It's a timestamp thing.
Is that because the times are different on
It's to the
log
second,
sheet
it should just be to the day, to the date,
server?
rather than the, yes. So there's a slight delay on a couple of seconds.
We had that report on you.
Hold on. So first thing first, let's get some
Then
data.
we won't have a problem here because it's all on his local.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about for other instances.
Hold on. Come here. Let's get the device one. Load it up. That one. Load it.
Ooh, last one didn't work. Oh, you didn't put that one in yet.
So good thing you got to watch when it does it picked up the data set. So if you see your data set empty here, you already kind of know that it's not gonna load it.
You don't have that in Datashed.
Well, I'm telling you, this is not a bad thing to have. See?
Yeah, incoming.
Yeah. Because this one is kind of telling you that, oh, I managed to marry it already.
Worked it out.
It's a pre-marriage.
Yeah.
It's a pre-marriage deal. So that's not a bad thing. And now it's all gone. There is nothing in the incoming, which means it load everything. Plus, to give some credit to Naresh, because sometimes we do good stuff. See, I'm not full negative. We did quite a good development in that section. Because before, you only had the green bar in the version 1 of the plugin. So it was going, and you never knew, is it finished? Is it doing? Sometimes the green bar was going to the end, but was actually still loading data. And you were like, oh, I close it, and then it didn't load. Oh, half of the data is there. So now it's actually telling you in a similar fashion to the importer in Datashed what it's doing. So it's been telling me I did check it, I load in XRF in incoming, I did merge, update the batch, completed the XRF schema, blah, 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 and it says also how much time it took to do it. So this one is not bad. It's been a pretty good enhancement from the previous one. And here, it's actually letting us know what has been done. So this one was the first attempt, which was unsuccessful. This one is the second attempt, and it put a V2 because it kept in mind the first attempt. Remember, I didn't put a batch ID. So if you load the same file and you don't specify a batch, it adds V2, V3, V4.
That first batch then, is that until it's that batch now?
Yeah.
So you need to delete it because it's a dead end. In other words, it's an empty batch. You
Yes.
successfully loaded it, and you make a batch identifier.
Yep.
So you need to delete that first attempt.
There you go.
Because that's something as well that people need to.
Delete batch.
Yep.
You have a delete functionality straight from here. Now, in a bigger scheme of things, you also have to think, if I go with Logshift, I load pXRF data in Logshift, and then I will sync it to the MDS. Now, does Logshift like to have a big database in SQL Express? No, it doesn't. You can't say yes.
10 gig.
Yeah, that's the limit of SQL Express. But give me a gig of data in Logshift and then try to log something. It will slow down. So good practice, if you're using the pXRF system from Logshift and syncing, it's not a bad idea to do an everyday cleanup. Because typically what I've seen is you got your device, we're talking field-wise, not where they do it on the lab. Field-wise, they typically produce a daily file, 100, 120 readings. But what you're looking at is you basically have a batch with 120 readings and you have 40 to 50 elements. So that means a typical file out of a device is 6,000 lines going to XRF results. That means if you don't clean out your Logshift database, it's going to grow real quick. And we saw that again with Goldfields that had a lot of files backload to load. As soon as they started loading, a couple of days, and they were ringing, the usual suspect was ringing, hey, my Logshift is super slow, why? And he has been spending days loading XRF results and syncing. So his XRF result table undercover has become a big drag for Logshift. Clean it up and retry. But there is a catch also. XRF results, unless you made it so, it will not be part of the config. If you look at my config here, this is, let's call it Logshift finesse. I have XRF DHSend. That's the only thing I have. But if I close, why it's not back? Because of that. Come on. Yeah, now it's back. So you couldn't access the administration and tool because CoreShed was open. So what I want to do is clear all the records, unsynchronize. I want to continue. Let's see. Aha. See what it's doing. I'm saying clear all the records, and Lockshift is doing the right thing. It's telling me you have records in XRF results. I loaded them. That's nothing wrong. Lockshift is actually doing the right thing here. But what I'm trying to explain is that you load your sample, you got your colors, your PT site, whatever you have. You start loading XRF results. XRF results is not part of the mapping for the configuration. But undercover, I'm loading data. If you decide to, oh, hold on, I load a bucket loads of samples, you need to make sure you first clean up the XRF results, and then you can clean up the Lockshift database. And Lockshift is doing the right thing. You say, clear all the records, it looks at the mapping, figures out that there are related records undercover in terms not in the mapping, and it gives you the message.
But if you include XRF results in the mapping, does that work?
It should, yeah.
Deletes it all.
Yeah, it will have to delete them all, but you got a catch again. You got thousands and thousands of records if you try to open that.
Table.
Yeah. So to me, I'm not keen to have it as part of the mapping, but you need to basically explain the client if they're going from Lockshift, really what you do, the best course of action, you load your file daily. And I mean, Goldfields had 2 devices. I don't know who has got more, but I would be surprised if you have more than, let's say, 5 devices. It's gonna be 5 files a day. So all you do, you will be loading your files in a day, done. You sync. Once it's synced, you go back to the plugin, which is here. That's right. So you come here, you delete the batch. Yeah, this one is the exact same thing as delete batch in datashed.
Okay, so can you sync now? Are you going to sync?
Well then, if it's the exact same thing as delete batch in datashed, the same thing as the datashed one, it needs to be improved so that it actually deletes the QC data that gets put in by incoming data driver.
Ouch! So that one doesn't get cleaned. Ooh, didn't know that one. Well, it's an interesting one because here you won't have lab QC. So really here is not gonna matter.
Yeah, true.
Because
Calibration separate, isn't it?
Because the worst case scenario here is that people insert dupes and XRF standards, but you won't have a lab introducing something that needs a mask. So that won't be affected here.
So Marco, why don't you just have it set to delete on sync?
That's what
When
I
you
want.
sync
Can you
the
set the Lockshift to delete on sync?
No.
If you bring those tables into Lockshift?
No. 2 things. Two things. You could do that, but XRF results at present is not part of the mapping. So my understanding, and Naresh is here, so you can confirm. I have the color and XRF DHSM. So I'm saying sync and then delete. Is it gonna delete the XRF results? Okay.
No.
No?
You need to add XRF results.
In the mapping.
Yeah.
There you go. And also, that's me, and that's my professional opinion. I don't trust sync delete. That's my professional opinion. Good luck in making me change my opinion. And I don't trust it, because if something goes wrong in the syncing and deletes, what do? If data you log on the field, the rig move. That's my professional opinion. I'm very conservative about deleting data, but we have the ability to do it. I mean, sync and delete.
Okay, can we sync now?
Do you want to sync?
I want to sync now, because this is where the problem starts.
This is where the problem started. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Really?
this is where you can come across, and we'll just see.
I didn't check if you sync properly. Let's try.
Should we run?
Okay.
Should be right.
Okay. Now, here, this is where.
Okay. Oh, now this one is where we always have fun with any sort of line. Why? Because the templates, we did them the wrong way. With XRF module, we have the 6XRF template, and there is another table underneath which relates to this. The overall idea is the template we build gets stored somewhere. That somewhere is that table, 6XRF template columns. So what you have is, originally this was taught as, we are in Logshift, we build a template, we save it. Where does it go? It has to go somewhere in the Logshift umbrella, which means it goes here. So now you got a problem, because the MDS doesn't have the template. So you got to sync it. But to sync it in the Logshift system database, in the library table, you have to set that table to sync. But you can't do it and forget about it. Once you do it, every time you sync, it's going to try to sync it again. Got the point? No? Okay. I created my XRF template. It's not in the MDS. I think. I think it's in the MDS. Fantastic. First time, fantastic. Second time, the library list in Logshift is still set up to sync. So what it's trying to do is sync the template again, which most likely it's already there. So you get this message.
That's what you do.
Well, you should skip. But the thing is, for the client, it's a bit of a pain. Because they see this message and they go, we don't understand, it's not written in English, we can understand. I mean, fair enough, because you need to understand the technicality.
And it's annoying, because the next one it goes to a different table. You
There are two.
Skip.
So, what I've been doing is...
Switch it off.
No, well, switch it off, but after the template was done.
Develop a template.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be consistent. If you've got one
That's right.
gun, you're doing a program, it's the same. Create your template, sync it back to the NDS, and then switch it off in your library,
But,
log-check system
sorry,
database.
along with this.
Well, then you've got to know what you're doing. It's education.
When we start this process, we only had a plugin sitting in Logshift. These days, we have the pXRF extension, which does exactly the same thing. So you know what is the solution? We should have the pXRF extension part of the standard base out of the MDS, and the workflow will be, you do your template from datasheet.
So you mean make it like a system object? System object instead of...
So,
And then always have it ticked off.
so in that way, because originally we didn't have the extension, you were forced to go in Logshift, do the template, bring it back to datasheet. But now we have the extension, so with minimal modification, you can force to be, you go from datasheet, make it a template, and it goes down to the users, not the other way around. And once you've done that, you also modify the logsheet system database, because as standard is stick to sync. You don't want to sync this table anymore.
Do you want to just show everyone how to untick it to sync?
I go for AAL and DMP as well. I'm the MDS.
Yes, I
Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks like the sync is only doing the insert. If the data is there, it shouldn't do the insert. We do the sync.
It still looks at it,
Yeah.
and find the same record and
Yeah,
try.
because you try to insert it again.
Yes.
But when you do sync, you shouldn't insert again. It's already there.
Well, he's trying to.
That's not called sync.
No, but it's no same as it's the same as if you accidentally don't delete your billing for the day and you've already synchronized it, you try and resynchronize it because it's already there.
Yeah, if it's already there, you should say, okay, the record is there. If any change, I update. Not say that I create
It
another
doesn't, the
record.
apply to all doesn't really work like that, does it?
Sorry, there?
Apply to all, it just keeps.
Yeah, that's right.
Still ask you the question again.
Yeah.
And now, see, I got in trouble with the template. Apply to all, and it goes like that. You should click only on override. Apply to all cause always issues. Now, talking about that, where do we go? Hold on. I need to remember where I put this config now. Option. I think it's a 12, yeah, with the wrangle one. Okay. What I'm going to show you, if you go to 12, find the logsheet system database for that. It's a bit messy here.
Not unfamiliar.
Yeah, well, when you play with Wrangle, it's the library table list. So this one. Yeah. So this one is the switch box to say what does refresh and sync undercover without a mapping. So in here, I think it's record 25 by memory. One is here, is different from usual, okay. Here is one. See pXRF template columns. When you refresh the library, it does refresh. And when you synchronize, it does synchronize. So all you have to do really, if you set up the template and you refresh the libraries, because this one is set to yes, it's gonna bring it in. It's gonna bring the new template. And what you do, you set this to no, so it will never try to synchronize in his life. And this is what we did with Goldfields, and they are happy ever since.
But it is frustrating when you're trying to sync, you don't know why, you get a
Again, the things start with the history behind this workflow, because it's been taught originally as a workflow straight from Logshift.
Yeah.
And what we did, we set this as I by default. So you install Logshift, you write a Logshift system database, the XRF template tables are set by default to synchronize. So you start working with your pXRF. Every time you sync pXRF data, it asks you about the template. But it's a simple matter of integrate the extension in the MDS, push the template for there, and just tell Naresh, you release Logshift with these two, sorry, this one and the other one, there are two of them, set to no. Game over. Nobody will ever have any drama with that whatsoever. Right, now back to the plugin, because really it's nearly time to wrap this up.
It's the longest demo we've had. It's good.
But that's everything about pXRF, Lenore. It's workflow, and every discussion with every client about pXRF has to be about workflow. Are you pXRFing every wet chemical interval? Are you doing the pXRF first? Are you pXRFing the bottom of hole interval? That's how you find out how the data should flow throughout the system once you know the workflows. Are they wet cheming and pXRFing everything with the same sample ID? Before you know the workflow, you can't possibly work out what the solution is going to look like for them. And we've had a lot of errors in migrations because we do not understand the workflow and how each client is treating pXRF and what they are doing it for. Is it an investigation analysis? Are they trying to prove up if pXRF is good for their project or not? So you've just really got to work out why they're using it.
Yeah, and on that, my experience, with Goldfields, they were purely look at a way of saving money on fire assay. So they were purely looking at Pathfinder ratio between major elements to kind of say, oh, we don't do fire assay here because their policy is fire assay on every single bag that goes out. So they were trying to say, oh, Pathfinder ratio is below the threshold. We don't do we don't do fire assay analysis. We say $500, beautiful. Others, base metals, typically, they try to go, let's say, zinc. Oh, we got 1% zinc, fantastic. Go ahead to the lab. We have less than 1% zinc, we don't care. So really, it's commodity driven. And within the commodity is also company policy driven. Because...
And if you've got that scenario, how do you deal with the samples? Because they're not all going to go in DH sum. So they're going to have to go to your XRF DH sum, and then what do you call them here?
What is that wet?
Wet chemistry, normal assays. Normal assays that we have.
Oh, normal assays.
DH.
Okay. Yeah, with that, I've been...
To be renamed then.
Well, hold on. With the standard workflow and standard Maxwell solution, you will have to What do you need?
To fix all these problems, what's that?
Give me a JR, a bag full of Krugerrand, and I may have a look at
I'll
it.
give you a coffee, but what do you want?
10 Krugerrands will do, thank you.
My point to this
Yeah.
is there's one or the other scenario. They will always be in here.
Yep.
And here. So you can, if we ever go down the paths of using just one sample table, or you have that scenario, and they can't have both. So the client can't have both scenarios where they're only using these sample IDs. So they either have to choose that, so they'll never populate this table, or they choose both, and you can never have them the same. That's, if we ever go down the path where we're going to give them the option to use existing sample IDs, and at the moment we can't do it, but if we ever go down the path...
Well, we've done it.
We can trick it.
But
what we have to do is that the clients will have to make right up front in their workflow decision which option, because you cannot have both options. It will never work.
That's a key thing to know though when you're setting up XRF is how they number their samples and for XRF versus
And which comes first? Is it wet
exactly.
first? Is it pXRF first?
again, you can't control that.
No, we can't. But
But
what
you
I'm saying,
know.
you've got to know the workflow.
Yeah.
With that, would you have a case where you have the XRF DH SAM is not have a DH SAM?
That's that scenario. Yes.
Possible.
Yes, that's that scenario where they're using...
Yeah, but then if they choose on only one single DH SAM, you will have a problem to split them up.
They do the XRF to try to find where the mineralisation is, and then they do the wet chemical analysis where they think the mineralisation
And that has to be a different sample ID. It
So-
absolutely has to be.
If we talk about merging them into one DH SAM, then how they be able to distinguish between XRF SAM or XRF and the normal
because
assay?
it's in different assay tables. XRF results.
Yeah, but
view
your
will still-
DH SAM and the view is looking DH SAM joined to the assay.
Yeah. So
Now you have
okay.
XRF SAM, which doesn't belong to the normal DH SAM.
But you do a view to trick it.
Yeah, that's why my question: how you trip it to know this is DH10, not XRF.
Because if it's not DH-SAMP, there won't be a assay result in TVL assay results.
No, but you
If
have
it's
DH10,
XRF,
not
there'll be a
in
result in
assay
TVL
results as well.
assay results.
You have DH10, have no assay results as well.
I think this is a, I mean,
To
Yeah.
know the workflow and to get a very good description of how they're going to do it.
We do have to know and understand 100%.
To summarize a bit,
That's with everything we do, not just the pXRF. From
Correct.
migrations upgrades, everything.
To-
Workflow is key.
to summarize a bit here, because it's also around 11, the system we have, it's kind, in my opinion, built around the fact you have to use different samples. It's basically built on that
Yes.
assumption. We all agree on that. Unfortunately, clients, as we are saying, they have various workflow. So there must be, I mean, in my opinion, again, we should sit down in a discussion at some point about the MDS and factor in what we're going to do with it.
I know, we do, and we've, John, Maria, myself, and Mandy have had many discussions about it. And we have to bear in mind that we can't break the MDS so that it no longer works in datashed 4 until we finish with datashed 4.
Which is fair enough.
That's the biggest single most
Which is-
issue we have.
Yeah, which is
That's
fair
why
enough.
we can't change it at the moment.
And the other issue I can see is whatever solution. Well, granted that was with 4 and possibly with 5, we may not be able to cover all the clients. So in my own logic will be which solution will cover the majority of the client.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing. We may not be able to have a reliable solution for everybody for a jack of all trades type scenario.
Are you going to cover this, sorry? AQC?
I can have a quick look.
Just a quick.
Technically,
bring up a picture of it. Cool.
yes.
Okay.
So
But it's the view. How does the other-
There's two things first. There's two things with QC. You have your own pXRF QC, which works fine. You just use your XRF SAMP and your XRF SAMP QC table. Set them up and you can look, that's looking within a batch.
That's exactly that
The
one.
biggest issue is that a lot of clients want
Compare.
to look at their pXRF
They want to
with their
compare.
wet chemistry assay.
correlation?
Yeah.
So that's where the issue is. We have to make a view that mimics the QC table. The pXRF table becomes the QC table. You have to make a view. You have to connect it back so that you've got the original sample ID, so it knows which one to go back to. And then you use that view as your QC table to compare your pXRF to your wet.
It also comes down, I believe, to a limitation in QA/QCR as it sits now. It only shows 3 tables in
Don't talk to me about that.
any given point of time.
Yes, I know.
Because if you will be able to source from more tables,
Linear face.
you will eliminate the issue at the source.
I agree.
Because you will, if you could do that,
No, but you still don't have original sample ID in our.
well, you're
So
right.
you still have to create.
You will still have to address the sample ID challenge, but granted that you come to
And QC table.
But granted that you come to a solution there, if you have more sources,
We're talking about that today.
it's
And the PXRS has to be a total separate configuration.
Yes.
Obviously, because it's looking at XRF
Because of the
results,
source.
not
Because of the
TVL
source.
assay results.
see this graph here. This is silica. I think it's silica.
Have you got a correlation one?
No.
It is silica, yeah.
This is silica. This is the Goldfields database. This is real data. So what they were doing, shot. That's a standard, that BFP-ME. It's a multi-element standard for pXRF. And this is real pXRF data for silica. They obviously have a big issue. I believe they shot a brick. This was the same thing I presented in 2015. Because they do the shots, they probably misaligned the gun, shot a brick, and your silica went through the roof, because that is like, yeah.
Silica rich brick.
Yeah, I mean, bricks has a lot of silica. That's what I think is happening. But what I'm saying is to get these, your sources for the QA/QCR data had to change. I had to point to XRF results.
Custom views.
Don't worry about it. QA/QCR's going to be gone.
Yeah,
So if you're trying to do a view to look at correlation between wet chem and PXRF, see Lenore or myself, We've done it a few times and have got the views
Got stories to
already to provide to just
We got a script for an existing.
The other thing I want to raise, since we got everybody here, this came up with Olson. I look at their, I know why you are laughing, but I'm not laughing. They have a beautiful view with element ratios, which I think we should have in our database.
Well, which elements?
Well, what are the most important geochemical pathfinder ratio?
It depends what commodity.
It may depend on, well, we are mostly...
ZNTR ratio?
It's no different than our max assay views and our old DH assay views and our old table assay flat, which just have the 5 elements that are in the existing max assay view. Gold, nickel, lead, zinc and something. Copper. Yeah, and that works really well for an iron ore company.
Yeah, but you can add kind of
so
different...
now we put everything in the assay flat table, but you know, what an iron ore ratios, it's everything to iron, obviously.
Yeah.
Or there's 5 main elements that you ratio. For VIMI, it's uranium, so we can't create a default view, is my point.
It can't be really a standard view because each deposit, with each commodity and under the same commodity, you have different style of deposits. But we may have to start thinking.
I think there should be correlation views too, nickel and cobalt.
Yeah.
Marriage, made in
heaven.
You know, it's deposit dependent.
Yeah. But should we have like a knowledge base somewhere? We can say client is cobalt. Yeah. Client is cobalt. We script in the Maxwell cobalt ratio view. So you give the client something that can work upon, because then you keep going through custom stuff done by clients. I mean, it's just a thought, because I saw that one in Orson and I thought it was a pretty good idea. Obviously, it's related to the project, to the mineralization, and what so forth. But I thought it was a good idea. So.
And on that, just while we're doing it, I think another useful, handy hint view to have somewhere that people can grab hold of is when you're creating oxides from elements and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Clients request that a lot too, particularly.
Anybody has any question? Anything we want to see again, or had enough? Had enough? Had enough 1? Had enough 2?
Could you start at the beginning, because I missed the first one.
Had enough 3.
Please send out an invitation to everyone so it goes into everyone's calendar. We are not looking to schedule every 5 minutes.
Hold on, I'm stopping the recording.